Imagine escaping the freezing winters, saying goodbye to winter coats, shoveling snow, and waking up every day to the sound of waves under Florida's endless summer sun. Now that certainly is a dream of many folks, but when Paul and Linda finally moved from Chicago to Florida, they found out there's a lot more to this paradise than meets the eye. Meet Paul and Linda. After decades in Chicago, they'd had their fill of ice-cold mornings and relentless winters. Every year, they'd escape the snow and head down to Florida for a couple of weeks, soaking in the warm sun and a slower pace of life. Those few weeks of vacation were enough to plant a dream of living in Florida permanently, leaving behind the hustle of the city and endless winter for good. So this year, they took the plunge. They sold the family home, they packed up a lifetime of memories, and made the move to Lakewood Ranch, a beautiful community not too far from the beautiful beaches in Sarasota. It was the start of what they thought was going to be the perfect life. But as they settled in, they quickly discovered that paradise came with a few unexpected twists. Twists that turned their dreams of a perfect Florida life into a real learning experience. And actually, the first surprise came soon after they unpacked their first box. And here's why that was. They've been visiting Florida for years, but they only came during the quiet summer months, when the beaches were nearly empty and they could just stroll into a cafe at any time during the day. But now, as full-time residents, they quickly found themselves experiencing Florida's snowbird season. For the very first time. And boy, was it a game changer. So one morning, they decided to head to one of their favorite cafes that they normally go to right near the beach. In the past, they loved going there because they could just sit outside on the patio, enjoy a cup of coffee, and enjoy the silence. But this time, as they pulled up, they were stunned. The parking lot was packed, the cafe had a line out the door, and the beach was filled with people, every square inch covered with towels, umbrellas, and coolers. And it wasn't just the beaches. And now grocery shopping meant navigating through crowded aisles, traffic was a daily endurance, dinner reservations used to be so easy. Now you needed to call days in advance. What had once been a calm, laid-back experience had transformed into something entirely different. Linda joked that it felt like a new adventure, but one where patience was the main skill required. And then there was the wildlife. Florida's natural beauty had always captivated them, the swaying palms, the shimmering lakes, and the occasional heron that they spotted on their walks. So get a load of this. One day, Paul was out golfing like he normally does once a week, enjoying the peace and the quiet, when he happened to look over near the water hazard. And there it was, a very large alligator just lounging by the water's edge. Seems like the alligator, just like Paul, was out enjoying just another beautiful day in Florida. So Paul froze, caught between fascination and caution. This was no ordinary golf hazard. And meanwhile, Linda had an encounter of her own. So she was out on her morning walk like normal, lost in thought, when she noticed something slithering across the path ahead. A snake, just casually making its way across the sidewalk. She stopped dead in her tracks, her heart pounding, as she realized this was definitely not the wildlife she had been used to. Florida's charm, they realized, came with a few surprises. Surprises that were equal parts beautiful and a little unnerving. The natural beauty was still there, but so were the alligators and the snakes and other wild creatures they'd only seen on TV. And they quickly learned that keeping an eye out wasn't just for the view, it's also for the creatures who call Florida home. Now, of course, they knew about hurricanes. It was actually one of the first things that they researched before making the move to Florida. They made sure that they had the best insurance, they installed storm shutters, they even made sure that they had plenty of batteries and plenty of flashlights. But what they didn't realize, that being hurricane ready was more than just a checklist, it's a mindset. So one evening, one of their neighbors stopped by, asked them if they were actually hurricane ready. And of course, Paul nodded confidently, listed off the supplies that they had. The neighbor gave him a knowing smile and replied, "You want more than that. A generator, a week's worth of food, don't forget to secure your outdoor furniture." Suddenly, Paul and Linda realized that being prepared for a hurricane was a full-time job, not just a few extra precautions. It was a sobering reminder that Florida's sunny skies could turn in an instant. This wasn't just about waiting out a storm. It was about being ready to act, having a plan, and knowing that every summer could bring something unexpected. Florida was teaching them resilience in ways that they had not even imagined. Now, one of the biggest reasons that they chose Florida was, of course, for the beaches. They had visions of lazy afternoons on the sand, sunsets over the ocean, and year-round summer that they'd never tire of. But what they hadn't considered was the wear and tear that came with coastal living. At first, it was just a few spots of rust, nothing they couldn't handle. But as the days passed, it seemed like the salt air was everywhere, eroding metal, dulling the paint on their car, and even leaving a fine layer of salt on their windows. And then there was the red tide. One evening, they arrived at the beach, excited for a sunset walk, only to find that the air was thick and really hard to breathe. The coast, it seemed, had its own set of challenges. Now, of course, if you recall, they did not move to the beach area. They spent a lot of time there. They did choose to live in the pristine community of Lakewood Ranch. The lawns were lush, the streets were immaculate, and the neighbors super friendly. But with that beauty came something unexpected: the HOA rulebooks. Linda had her heart set on painting her front door a cheerful shade of blue. A small touch of personality, she thought. But she quickly found out that every single detail had to be approved by the homeowners association. Everything from the color of your door to the landscaping choices. Paul had wanted to plant a small herb garden, but even that required paperwork. What they thought was going to be a life of freedom came with a list of regulations. And then there were the bugs. Now, Paul and Linda, they were no strangers to a few mosquitoes. Summer nights in Chicago, they had their fair share of pests. But Florida has a whole different league of insects. And it didn't take long for Paul and Linda to quickly realize that these folks, they were not leaving. Those bugs were here to stay. Their first dinner outdoors was barely underway before the swarms arrived. They set the table, they poured themselves some wine, started to enjoy a lovely evening outdoors. But within minutes, they were swatting away mosquitoes left and right. Linda got up to light the citronella candles, but it felt like the bugs had already called their friends to the party. And just when they thought they'd seen it all, they met the one and only palmetto bug. Imagine a cockroach, only bigger and bolder. One night, Linda was cleaning up the kitchen when a palmetto bug scurried across the floor as if it owned the place. She froze, heart pounding, then quickly called for Paul, who had just as little idea of what to do with this uninvited guest. And soon enough, pest control became their friends and part of their regular routine. They quickly learned that paradise came with a few more roommates than they expected. So after a few weeks, Paul and Linda found themselves sitting down one evening, reflecting on everything that they've experienced so far. They hadn't expected Florida to come with so many surprises, and there were moments where they questioned if they could handle the quirks and the inconveniences of this new lifestyle. Was it really the paradise that they expected, or was it more than they bargained for? Paul looked over at Linda, recalling the crowded cafe lines, the unexpected wildlife encounters, the hours spent preparing for hurricanes, and the nearly nightly battle with the bugs. Paul wondered whether or not they made the right decision. Linda paused, considering everything they faced together since the move. She remembered their winter vacations in Sarasota, the nights they spent dreaming about living here, and the excitement of moving to a place where they could be outside all year long. But was that dream worth all of the unexpected twists? But as they sat there in the quiet of the evening, watching the sun dip below the horizon, they found themselves smiling. And for every unexpected surprise, there was also a reward. For every crowded cafe and every packed beach, there was also a nice quiet morning walk. For every moment of doubt, there was also a reminder of why they came. The freedom to live life outdoors, to feel the warmth of the sun all year long, to wake up every day in a place that felt like a dream. Linda looked at Paul and said, "It may not be the paradise we imagined, but it still is paradise. I think we need to just embrace it, quirks and all." They quickly realized that despite everything, this was the lifestyle that they'd been searching for. They could find ways to manage the quirks, and in the end, those quirks became part of the charm. So in the end, Paul and Linda, they chose to stay. They realized that paradise isn't about perfection. It's about finding beauty in the unexpected, joys in the quirks, and a life that feels right for you. See, Florida was their new adventure, and they were ready to embrace it fully. They found that with a bit of patience, a sense of humor, and a few bug traps, paradise was all around them. Hey, by the way, if this is your first time checking out our channel, hello and welcome. If you're a returning viewer, hello, welcome back. My name's Adam Miller with the 941 Lifestyle Group. I'm a real estate agent. I'm a lifestyle matchmaker. If this story resonated with you even just a little bit, or if you're thinking about moving to the beautiful Gulf Coast of Florida, my contact information is down below. Don't hesitate to reach out to me anytime. If you like this video, make sure you stick around and you watch this next video. See you next time, everyone.